Okay, hi class. Today we're going to be going over the converting fractions, decimals, and percents formative. First question asks us to write the fraction 15 over 24 in lowest terms. Of course, 15 slash 24 is really the fraction 15 over 24. We want to start by dividing these two numbers by anything they both divide by. So 15 is not even, so it doesn't divide by 2, but both of these numbers do divide by 3. So let's do that. 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. 5 is a prime number, so that does not simplify any further, and our simplest fraction is 5 over 8. In question 2, it's the same idea. We've got our 27 over 81. Neither of those divide by 2, but both of them do divide by 3, so we can go ahead and divide top and bottom by 3. 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 81 divided by 3 might be a little bit trickier for you to do. Of course, never be afraid to long divide if you need to. 81 divided into 3. 3 goes into 8 2 times, making 6. And 3 goes into 21 7 times. If we look, we can continue dividing here, actually. Again, both of these divide by 3. That gives us 3 over 9. And a final division by 3 is 1 over 3. And that's going to be our simplest form here. Remember, you want to keep dividing until it is as small as possible. There's no more numbers that you can divide, both the top and the bottom by, and that gives us our 1/3. Write 0.44 as a fraction in lowest terms. The rightmost place here is in the hundredths place. And that, of course, tells us that we have a 100 on the bottom of our fraction to start. And our digits of our decimal are 44. So 44 over 100 is a fraction that is this decimal. However, we always simplify fractions, and indeed we're told here in lowest terms. Both of these are even numbers, so we'll divide both of them by 2. That'll give us 22 out of 50. In fact, both of those can divide by 2 a second time. And that gives us 11 out of 25. 11 is a prime number, and 25 doesn't divide by it. So that's going to be our lowest form fraction. Again, in this question, our 8 is in the hundredths place. So that is 100 on the bottom of our fraction. And our 8 goes on the top. We can again simplify. Both of these are even numbers, so we can divide them by 2. That gives us 4 out of 50. We can actually simplify again by dividing by 2 again. And that gives us 2 out of 25. And that is our lowest form, as 2 only divides by 2, and 25 does not divide by 2. Right, this decimal as a fraction. Now we do notice that we have our repeating bar up here, and whenever we have a repeating decimal, we know that we're going to have 9s on the bottom. And since there's 1, 2, 3 digits repeating, that means that there's going to be 3 9s on the bottom. So this is out of 999. And our digits on the top are 0, 1, 7. But of course, we never write those preceding zeros. So 0, 1, 7 is just 17. And both of those are, well, 17 is a prime number, and 999 does not divide by it. So that's our simplest form. Right, this decimal is a fraction. Well, again, we see that we've got our repeating bar, and we have 2 digits that repeat. And so we're going to have 2 9s on the bottom of our fraction, or 99. And then our digits 3, 6 go on the top. Now, these numbers do not divide by 2, however, both of them divide by 3. So let's do that to simplify. 36 divided by 3 is 12, and 99 divided by 3 is 33. Again, don't be afraid to long divide that if you need to. Again, we're going to look for these to simplify again. Both of these still divide by 3, so we'll do that again, and that gives us 4 on top and 11 on the bottom. 11 is a prime number, so 4 is not going to divide by it, and that is our simplest form, 4 over 11. What decimal is equivalent to this fraction? Well, to get a decimal, we want to have either 10, 100, or 1,000 on the bottom. The easiest thing I see is to multiply top and bottom by 5, because that will give me 100 on the bottom, a nice place value. If needed, of course, you can long multiply 16 by 5. 5 times 6 is 30, carry a 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. So this is 80 out of 100. Since we're out of 100 with 2 zeros, we're going to put 2 blanks after our dot. We can fill in our 0 and our 8 from our 80, and then preceding 0 there to fill in the missing spot. And of course, this is the same decimal as just 0.8. We don't need that lagging 0 at the end there. So either of these decimals would be fine in this question. What decimal is equivalent to this fraction? Well, in this case, since I can't make the bottom into 10, 100, or 1,000, there's nothing I can multiply 11 by to give me 10, 100, or 1,000. I'm going to try to make it into 9, 99, or 999, and I can make it into 99 by multiplying by 9. 8 times 9 on the top is 72, and 11 times 9 on the bottom is 99. Since I have 9s on the bottom, I know that we have 2 digits that repeat for my 2 9s on the bottom, and that's going to be 0.72 repeating. And of course, that's the same as the decimal, 0.72727272, so on and so forth forever, but we just write that with our repeating bar on top. What decimal is equivalent to this fraction? Well, again, I can't make the bottom into 10, 100, or 1,000. I can, however, simplify here by dividing top and bottom by 2. And the reason I want to do that is it gives me a 9 on the bottom. Since I have 1 9 on the bottom, I'm going to have 1 digit repeat, and that's going to be my 4 from the top. That's repeating. So 0.4 repeating. And again, this is 0.4444 dot dot dot. 4 is forever. But normally we just write that as 0.4 repeating. 10 was just fill in the blanks. If a denominator as a fraction is 999 or 999, that will mean it will convert to a repeating decimal. Some people put non-terminating here, and this is partially correct. So you get 0.5 out of 1 marks for that if you put it on a test. Okay, the reason that you're not getting full marks for non-terminating is that there are non-terminating decimals that do not repeat and therefore do not have a 9 on the bottom. So for example, pi, 3.14159, so on and so forth. That is a non-terminating decimal that does not have a 9 on the bottom because it does not repeat ever. Okay, so non-terminating is correct for certain decimals, but it won't necessarily have a 9 on the bottom. Repeating decimals will have a 9 on the bottom if they're a single or 2 or 3 of the same digits repeating over and over and over again. Okay, so if we have that 999 or 999, it will be a repeating decimal specifically. Will also be non-terminating, but repeating is the better answer here. Okay, and then in our last questions, we have this chart where we start with either fraction, a decimal, or a percent, and we're creating the other ones. So question 11 asks us about A. A is in the row with the fraction 2/5, and A is a percent. So to have a percent, I need to make 100 on the bottom. To make 5 into 100, I need to multiply it by 20. Of course, I do the same thing to the top. This gives me 40 out of 100. And once I have an out of 100, I know I can replace that out of 100 with the percent sign. So 40 out of 100 is the same as 40%. Out of 100 and percent meaning the same thing. That means that A is 40%. B in the chart, B is in the second row, and we start with this repeating percent, 23.23 repeating percent. And of course, we can replace that percent with out of 100. And we know that dividing something by 100 moves the decimal 2 spaces to the left. 1 space, 2 spaces. And of course, 0.2323 repeating is just 0.23 repeating. So as a decimal, our number here is 0.23 repeating. However, we need that as a fraction. So again, we're going to notice we have 2 repeating digits. That means 2 9s on the bottom, then our digits 2 and 3 on the top. 23 is a prime number, so this is our simplest form fraction for letter B. Next, we're asked for letter C in the chart. Letter C is the decimal for the fraction 7 over 8. You could either long divide this fraction to get your decimal, or you can multiply by 125. I pick 125 because 8 times 125 is 1,000, and so multiplying the top by 125 will give me a number that I can use place value to convert. Again, don't be afraid to long multiply here. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 17. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So this is 875 out of 1,000. 1,000 with 3 zeros is 3 spots after the decimal place, and we can fill in our 5, 7, and 8 from left to right to make our decimal. I believe D is just the percent for this. Yes, it is. So we have our decimal 0.875 from the earlier question. And remember that any decimal can be written as itself over 1, like any number can be written as itself over 1. For it to be a percent, it needs 100 on the bottom, so we're going to multiply top and bottom by 100. And multiplying by 100 moves your decimal 2 spots to the right. Gives us 87.5 out of 100. Once we have something out of 100, we know that is our percent. So 87.5 out of 100, 87.5 out of 100 is the same as 87.5%. And finishing up, we need question E in the chart. E starts with the percent 120%, and it is, what is it, the decimal. So let's get started by replacing our percent sign. We know what our percent sign means. It means out of 100. So 120% is 120 out of 100. And for this, we can go ahead and set up our decimal. 100 has 2 zeros in it, so 2 places after the decimal. And let's go ahead and fill in our digits 0, 2, and 1 from right to left. And so that is our decimal 1.20, which obviously is equivalent to the decimal just 1.2. Okay, so I hope that helps you with your conversions formative and understanding where you might have gone wrong if you did.